It happened Saturday in Ashland, and according to social media posts by Hanover County Animal Protection and Shelter, a raccoon broke into the store the night of Black Friday and ransacked several shelves. They have masks, don't they? The animal became intoxicated, then passed out in the bathroom. The sleeping raccoon was discovered Saturday morning.
Head right near the toilet. We've all been there probably at some point in our lives, right?
A little too much.
An officer brought the masked bandit back to the county animal shelter to recover. So yes, that's a lot of liqueur for a little raccoon there. The raccoon slept it off for a few hours and showed no signs of injury. Bounced back. Officers released the raccoon back into the wild.
It happened Saturday in Ashland, and according...
That's racist. Good morning, pineapples. Looking very good and very nice. I'm Austin Peterson. Welcome to the Wake Up America show. It's a beautiful Wednesday morning, December the 3rd, 2025. It's 7:05 a.m. Central Time. If you're watching us live this morning, give yourselves a pat on the back and applause. You're the special people. Some people do watch us later. They're on the West Coast. They say it's the best coast, but the best coast of all on the Missouri River in Jefferson City. I just drive over Boonville, take a look down at the beautiful wide Missouri River, the Shenandoah. Oh, Shenandoah, I long to see you. Stop. Wait. Don't go. Click the like button and let's get it on. We got a lot to discuss today. I've got some great guests. As usual, I'm always working behind the scenes to make you happy every day. We're going to take a little tour through the modern American circus today. Without lions, no trapeze artists, and none of the fun. It's a circus where the clowns run the ticket booth. The elephants charge admission. And the only people who end up paying for the show are you and me. Sippin' made it back from the bowels of Battlefield 6 to join us this morning. George Floyd in the chat. Good morning, Sippin'. Looking very good and very nice. Today, we're going to talk a little bit about a generational plot twist so wild that even George Orwell would demand royalties. Generation Z, God bless them, has officially decided that owning things is too expensive. Buying things is now passé. The hot new trend is to rent your life. Clothes, furniture, dishware, baby gear, wine glasses, outfits for one Instagram post. Some of them are doing the whole fake influencer thing where they rent the private jet for like 30 minutes and pay hundreds of dollars, and they have to go get a whole bunch of cash. They rent the money. They take the cash out of the bank, and then they put the cash back in the bank as if they have any cash. They're just renting. Good morning, Barney. So these kids have created this whole entire rental economy for the basics of their existence. You will own nothing and you will like it. And you cannot blame them on one level, because this is what happens when you grow up in an economy that treats ownership like a luxury sport for people who still shop at Bed Bath & Beyond without financing it. You either buy your groceries with buy now, pay later, or you rent your wardrobe from strangers on an app that looks like Tinder, but for outfits. Swipe right on a dress. Swipe left for bankruptcy. It's the new economy. Have you guys seen the Domino's delivery where you can order the pizza and then pay for it in installments? This is where we've come to. We've created the perfect millennial and Gen Z loop. People work nonstop. They never earn enough to own anything, so they rent everything, which makes the companies richer, which makes the prices go up, which makes everyone rent even more. It's not a cycle. It's kind of like a treadmill. This is the hamster wheel of the American dream, except the hamster pays interest for being able to use the wheel that they have. And just when you think this can't get any stranger, TikTok has launched a movement called No Buy 2025. This is where young people brag about not purchasing anything new for entire months. Not buying things has now become a status symbol. It's kind of like going back to Generation X, right? The anti-capitalist Gen X, where it was very, we will own nothing, right? They will own nothing and they will be happy. So they would say this isn't a movement, though. This is just being broke, which, when you're young, you're not expected to necessarily arrive out of high school or college with $150,000 a year. Thank you for your tiny tithe, Drew Van Ruckel. Good morning, Amy J.E.'s. We got the bonus content today I had Amy J.E.'s in mind. Hope we unlock it. Drew Van Ruckel is the only man brave enough to step up in front of me while doing my little song and dance here and drop $1 in my bucket. Let's give it up for Drew Van Ruckel. So this is not really a Gen Z story. This is a national affordability story. The Trump administration says that the affordability thing is a Democrat hoax. Probably not a good message. But this is the country where 25% of Americans now use installment plans to buy groceries. And we can't ignore that. Where holiday spending is softening because people are out of runway on their finances. The average person has less savings today than before the pandemic, even though wages are higher, because everything costs more. Everything, right? This is going to bring, except for gasoline. Thank you, President Trump. Dad Bod Baboon asks a good question, says, not buying things doesn't bother me so much. The question is what will they do with that extra money? They're willing to bet they won't invest it in their future. Well, they're renting clothes and they're renting. It's like going to the rent-a-center. Everything's rental, but it's on apps. So, and then this brings me to the second hour of the circus this morning. So childhood in America is undergoing a shock therapy session. A parent-led revolt is spreading across the country called the Balance Project. Have you heard of the Balance Project? If you heard that here for the first time today and you love learning new things, please click the like button and repost the stream. If you're over on X, share us with some of your friends. So these are 100 communities and counting, continuing to grow, that are parents that are done handing their kids over to screens and algorithms and social media. They're building phone-free sports leagues, mud kitchens, bike clubs, book circles, and good old outdoor mischief. They're rediscovering a secret that our ancestors already knew. Childhood is supposed to take place on dirt, not on Discord. So that'll be a great topic. And big tech doesn't know how to react to this because Meta unveiled their big solution, which is a fancy PG-13 mode for Instagram, as if repainting the Titanic solves the iceberg problem. So child safety experts are unimpressed with this. Parents are unimpressed. Even the kids don't seem impressed about this. You can call a wolf a puppy, but it still eats sheep. So meanwhile, the data is now undeniable. Schools that ban smartphones entirely see test scores rise, fights fall, and attendance improves. It's almost like when you remove the distraction machine from the learning environment, children learn. I know that is a radical concept in 2025. And I know that Camellia, if she's here and listening this morning, is fuming and her ears are red because she doesn't like the whole take the phone away from the kids when they go to school idea. And there's good arguments for that. Good morning, Georgia on my mind. Matt Unruh, Quest Fanning in Brooklyn, John in Kansas City, Missouri, Drew Van Runkle in the People's Republic of Ohio, enjoying some Vivek Ramaswamy. Does your groin itchy? Good morning, Pineapples. Wishing all a good and safe day. Hello, and Austin and Steph, go get them Tigers. Roar. M-I-Z. Welcome. So today's show is a portrait of two Americas, the one that's breaking under the weight of bad economics, bad incentives, and bad leadership, and the one that's trying to rebuild something better from the ground up, which will bring us to our guests. So at 8 o'clock, Judge Andrew Napolitano joins us for a heavyweight breakdown of the Hegseth-Venezuela strike controversy. Did the administration greenlight an operation that could topple Maduro? What are the constitutional limits? What comes next? The situation is real, it's volatile, and it could reshape the Western Hemisphere overnight. Then at 8:30 a.m. Central, the great Larry Sharpe will be here. We love Larry. He's running for governor of New York. And if there's ever been a state in need of a libertarian renaissance, it is the Empire State. The affordability crisis, the exodus of working families, the election of Zoran Mamdani in New York City, the policy rot that somehow exceeds even the rent crisis that we were talking about. Larry has the blueprint for revival, and it's the kind of conversation that America needs to hear. So you're going to hear it today, here and nowhere else. Governor Larry Sharpe. So buckle up, guys. Grab your coffee. Today we're drinking Martha's Mint. It's stinking delicious. You are insane. If you like coffee and you haven't had a drink, even so much as a sip of my delicious Founding Flavors coffee, you are insane. And it's Christmas time and it's only for a limited time. Martha's Mint available at forlibertyshop.com. Can you imagine how beautiful a gift basket of this would look like if you got one over at forlibertyshop.com? Let's unlock the bonus content this morning. And guys, guess what? I do something a little nice for you. We do a little grifting. You go to forlibertyshop.com. Check it out. Let's do the thing, guys. Let's do the thing. It says we've got one visitor right now. Let me just refresh. Where in the world is everyone in? Zero sales, zero orders. Can we get one? Can we get somebody to go shopping and throw anything in their cart and see where they are on the map popping up? They're down there this morning in Texas looking at forlibertyshop.com. You can see yourself on the map if you pull up forlibertyshop.com and shop along with us. If you go to forlibertyshop.com, you'll see the entire map of the world, and wherever you are, if you're not on a VPN or if you're in some of these other countries, you will be blocked, like Nigeria or Somalia or China. Even though we see a little China traffic down there, we're almost getting it all out there. But go to forlibertyshop.com. We'll pop up your session. That'll be fun. And go to the front page of forlibertyshop.com. You'll see our delicious Founding Flavors. Guys, I made a bundle. AP for Liberty bundle. And this is a discounted bundle where you guys can get my favorites. I hope it comes up in the search. Hold on. Let's see. AP for Liberty bundle. Brad will drop it in the chat. I'm pretty sure I gave it to him. Yeah. So there we go. Yeah, I've got it. I'll drop it in the chat. This is my bundle. If you're interested in my favorite Founding Flavors, click on that link over there in the chat. It'll take you to my bundle at forlibertyshop.com. The Founding Flavors, I put together my top three: Jeffersonian Java, Franklin's Electric Elixir, and Painkiller. We've got a little sale going on right now, guys, where if you buy my bundle of my favorites, now they're all delicious. I chose them all individually, tasted them all for months to bring to you the absolute best. But the bundle, if you click in the link in the chat, is Jeffersonian Java, Electric Elixir, and Painkiller all at a discount. And look at all of the reviews, guys. 4.8, 4.9, 4.8. They love it at forlibertyshop.com. If you click on forlibertyshop.com, it'll take you to the front page. Click on our little shop here and buy the bundle. The link is in the chat, and you can get that bundle at a discount. So let's get the show started and unlock that bonus content early and often. Our coffee doesn't come from Somalia.
Which is barely a country. You know, they have no anything. They just run around killing each other. There's no structure. And when I see somebody like Ilhan Omar, who I don't know at all, but I always watch her for years. I've watched her complain about our Constitution, how she's being treated badly. Our Constitution, the United States of America, is a bad place. Hates everybody, hates Jewish people, hates everybody. And I think she's an incompetent person. She's a real terrible person. But when I watch what is happening in Minnesota, the land land of 1,000 lakes, or however many lakes they have. They got a lot of lakes. But this beautiful place, and I see these people ripping it off. And now I'm understanding, and you're going to look at Janetska, I hear they ripped off Somalians, ripped off that state for billions of dollars, billions, every year, billions of dollars, and they contribute nothing. The welfare is like 88%. They contribute nothing. I don't want them in our country, I'll be honest with you. Okay? Somebody would say, oh, that's not politically correct. I don't care. I don't want them in our country. Their country's no good for a reason. Their country stinks, and we don't want them in our country. I could say that about other countries, too. I can say it about other countries, too. We don't want them to hell. We have to rebuild our country. You know, our country's at a tipping point.
I don't want them here either, Mr. President. They're coming to our country, ripping us off. Billions of taxpayer dollars. I'm sorry. There's no right to that. Get out. Get out. My heart goes out to you. Welcome to the Wake Up America show. Click the like button if you haven't already. It's time to talk about the top story here, guys. This is one of the stories where you look around and you say to yourself, this cannot be real, but it is. And it's not only that, it's real, it's mainstream. It is celebrated, and it's held up as the next great innovation in American society. I'm talking about the fact that Generation Z rents their entire lives, clothes, furniture, baby strollers, wine glasses, outfits for one wedding photo, you name it. If it exists, there's now an app. You can rent it from a stranger. You will own nothing and be happy. You will own nothing, Cago, with your little shopping bag. There will be nothing in that. You won't even own the shopping bag. You will own nothing and be happy. You will rent everything. It starts with your software. It starts with your video games. It starts with your videos, your television shows, your movies. You don't own them. You don't have digital media. Now you rent it, and you got to rent everything. Are you going to rent your house? Are we going to rent our houses? Huh? Pirates are going to pirates. Cago, naughty. Let's be friends. Business Insider magazine was writing about this. This is where I found this story. Clothes, furniture, baby strollers, wine glasses. People are renting the oddest stuff. But when people rent everything, that's not necessarily liberation, right? This is not a great sign, right? It's not necessarily minimalism if it's not by choice, right? It's not sustainability. It's kind of a blinking red warning sign. The economy has stopped functioning for normal people. This is not lifestyle. This is survival disguised as style, right? Gen Z is not renting because it's fun. They're renting because the economy has turned ownership into a luxury sport for hedge fund managers and dog influencers and people who go to foreign countries and get giant checks to talk nicely about those countries on their social media accounts. Not me. The only money I get from foreign country is when people buy my coffee at forlibertyshop.com. Yarr. So here's what gets me about this. They've managed to spin economic desperation into a social trend. So in this Business Insider article, the CEO of one of these rental apps says that renting is a new form of personal expression. Very expressive. Nothing says individuality like a dress shared by 40 other people in your zip code. Nothing says authenticity like scrolling through a list of outfits worn by strangers and saying, ah, yes, this crusty sequined thing will define my identity for the next 6 hours. Although celebrities, they just get it for free. They wear the Chanel for a few hours to the fashion show and then they give it up, but they don't have to pay for it, pay for the luxury. So in this article, the CEO is talking about this as a trend, highlighting, of course, it's in their own best, in their pecuniary interests. I love that word, pecuniary. I'm pretty sure I get $5 for that. Pecuniary interest to advocate for this as a trend You want a fresh outfit for the wedding? You rent it. You want a stroller for your kid's trip to the zoo? You rent it. You want plates for a dinner party? You rent them. Although I have to say, when you're talking about ceramic plates and those glasses, does everybody have a parent, if you're middle-aged like me, does everybody here have a parent who in their home has a dusty cabinet and it's just filled with glass cups and china and dishes for dinners that never happened? Am I the only one? Or is that too old even for you guys? What are we all going to do, by the way, when we inherit all of those dish sets in that big glass cabinet? That was kind of the thing that in the 1980s, and I think even still into the 90s, it was the thing to have like a display case with all of your beautiful plates and dishes. And so, of course, the kid could come by, or grandpa could catch it on a hook with his jacket when he walks by so it could crash down to the ground. But yeah, La Fine China. Drew Van Ruckle says, I just dusted in preparation for Christmas decorations. Good idea. Andy says he owns his grandmother's full china set. You own something? No.
Oh, God. No.
You must not be a Generation Z. Matt Unruh says he's 35 and knows this experience. My grandma did. She pulled them out at Christmas. We don't even pull ours out at Christmas. I would burn alive someone using those plates, says Andy. Yeah. Amy has her mother-in-law. We all have those plates. Well, imagine renting them. If you're looking for an additional revenue stream, you could always rent out your plates. But the reason why this is happening is because of affordability, pure affordability. Not the Generation Z kids, they don't want to have the big giant thing full of china plates, and I get that, right? But renting china, very awkward. Society's broken. The economic incentives are misplaced. There is what we call a disequilibrium in the system. And there's another $5 word. More chins than Chinatown. Shut up, bitch. None of that racism on my Liberty app, okay? Yeah, our Christmas tree's up already over here too. So Americans have started financing everything. Pizzas, Domino's pizzas. You need a chicken wing, you're going to have 2-3 payments a month, $19.95 by the time it's all over. For the $10 pizza, you're paying $20 because you got to pay 30 to 35% interest on the pizza. Amy J.E., she's still half asleep. Wake up, Amy. Why don't you put on a little makeup? I don't think you trust in my self-righteous suicide. Mighty Megatron says you'll own nothing, be happy. Klaus Schwab. No. We want to own things. We want to get back to an economy where it's even minimalism should be a choice, not a trend because of necessity. All right. Let's connect this to the second thread on this one. Americans have started financing everything that's not being rented. Buy now, pay later, right? It's no longer for splurges. It's for groceries. It's for gas. It's for Thanksgiving dinner. NBC reports that we are doing almost $1 billion, and they're called BNPL transactions in a single day of holiday shopping. People are financing mashed potatoes and tacos. If you have to take out a microloan to feed your family green beans, you are not participating in a thriving economy. You are participating in something much closer to feudalism with Wi-Fi. Here's the toughest truth. Gen Z didn't break the economic ladder. They're just the first generation enough. It looks like they're honest enough to admit that it is gone. My generation pretended the ladder was still there. Millennials tried to buy houses we couldn't afford. We went into debt. Generation X held on for dear life. Boomers climbed the ladder and then pulled it up behind them. Gen Z looks around and says, ladders are in short supply, but I can rent a sweater for $14. Well, $14 to rent a sweater, I guess, is much better than $150 sweater. How do you repo a taco, says MGF77. Now we're asking the real questions. So let me give you another piece of the puzzle here. So holiday spending is softening. Retail giants expected a massive boom. But the families are pulling back. Inflation fatigue is set in. The money is not stretching. People are hunting for deals that do not exist. They're living on credit. They're praying next month won't bring a new surprise fee, a new tax, a new interest rate. I just keep getting slammed with bills at the end of the year. It's like a reverse Christmas over here at the Peterson household. You spend all year and you're paying your taxes quarterly, you're trying to get along, you're feeding the baby, paying your salaries that you got to pay, right? All of this pressure that has been on me personally, but I know you as well. I know that many of you are feeling it as well. And then you come to the end of the year and you get these tax bills that are so insulting. It is so insulting to receive a bill to pay for the privilege of owning personal property within a certain geographic territory. I'm not even talking about chickens, which with chickens you can think, oh, somebody might live next door to the place and they don't want to live next to the chickens, and they want to hear the chicken. Like, we have a whole chicken fight in the state of Missouri where we're streaming this show live from. Who's buying a $140 sweater? Dad bought baboon. That's a great question. It's a great question. And sadly, the answer to that is not something that will make you feel good. But there are people who are buying $140 sweaters in this economy. It's a very small group of people, but they don't care about how much money when it comes to spending. But when you're talking about getting a tax bill at the end of the year for the privilege of owning a vehicle. So I think I bitched about this yesterday. I got a 2012 Ford F-150 XLT. So greater than 10-year-old vehicle. And you got to pay a tax bill for the privilege of owning it, right? We had to buy a minivan last year so we could get our baby around all of our stuff. When we go to karate class, that van is packed full to the gills. And I'm telling you, when you see how much they charge you for owning a minivan, not a brand new minivan, several years old, right? Got some miles on it. And then they know. I mean, think about who you're taxing when you're setting out. Do you think that people buy minivans on purpose? Who do you think you're taxing when you send us a bill, Cole County, Missouri, for $550 for a year for the privilege of owning a king minivan? What do you think we're doing? At least I get some of it back for teaching Cole County's Jefferson City karate class Wednesday night. That's tonight. It's fight night. Oh, yeah. Thank you, Andy Opperman, for chipping in. We're so grateful for those who support the Wake Up America show financially and otherwise. Without people like Andy Opperman chipping in, we would not be able to stream this show live 5 days a week. We have superstars. We have VIPs. This is the season of gratitude. I cannot thank people like Andy Opperman enough. We all have to say thank you, Andy, in the chat. He is our number one biggest supporter. In the chat, we also have mega superstar VIPs like Amy J. Easley. Hell, Revolt 2024, I think he kind of sort of hates me a little bit even, but even he went to the grift shop the other day and used his great grift off coupon to get himself some nice gifts from forlibertyshop.com. John and KC, he's been a subscriber in the past. We're probably going to call him and see if we can twist his arm and get him back on the Christmas card list. Which, speaking of, if you want to be on the Christmas card list like Andy Opperman and Amy J. Easley, all Stephanie and I want to ask from you this year, this holiday season, is to help us get through these dark times, because I promise you that this has been a really challenging year for us, our first year as parents, and building up the network and adding new shows and building up those shows and building up a whole group of people to take these ideas forward. That if you become a Peterson's Patriot supporter, you're going to get years worth of liberty activism for yourself and your kids and your grandkids that will have a meaningful impact. That's what Stephanie and I are doing. And Brad, Brad Beckman, let's give it up for Brad this year. First whole year. I mean, the stress that you get when you're a boss and you try and build a community, and I want to hire more people here at the For Liberty Network. I want more shows. We need more support crew over here. I've got a 2026 battle plan that would singe your hair. Your hair would sit on fire if you read all of the plans that I have for 2026, but they're all only plans without people like yourself doing what Andy Opperman does, doing what Amy J. Easley does, and opening up your hearts and your wallets and going to wakeupAmericaShow.com/support and becoming a member of the Peterson's Patriots crew. If you go to wakeupAmericaShow.com/support this morning and become a 1776er, a member of the Peterson's Patriots crew, you're going to get our Christmas card list. And it is a very, very cute and special card this year with me and Stephanie and Hazel. So if you've been one in the past, like John Rail, and maybe your subscription has lapsed, today is a great day to go to wakeupAmericaShow.com/support and become a Peterson's Patriot again. Even if you think you can only perhaps do it for a brief time, you can always cancel later, but you get a 20% discount at the shop as well. You get our Christmas card list. You're getting perks, but here's what you're really getting. You're getting more freedom. I'm not the type of person who just sits behind a keyboard all day and hopes that I can send enough memes viral to change the country. I go out into my community. I show up to your state capitals. I travel around the country. I give speaking engagements. I support the cause of liberty on every front. I'm one of the most prominent American libertarians. And I'm in this fight against people who are competing for your views. They're competing for your attention. They're competing for your dollar. And I'm competing with them. So if you say to yourself, there's a reason I get up every morning and I watch the Wake Up America show and I do it live. If that's you, then I want to invite you today to sign up for our Christmas card list, to sign up for the cause of liberty. Stephanie and I, it's like George and Martha Washington. We're out there in Valley Forge. Martha Washington came to visit. Steffi would absolutely do that too. She's bringing morale to the troops. But we couldn't have done it without the people who financed the revolution. So if you want the revolution to continue, go to wakeupAmericaShow.com/support today and become a member of Peterson's Patriots. I promise you it is worth it. Thank you very much today for everyone who has been a financial supporter this year, and even in the past, we're grateful for that. So A2. So parents are rising up. Big tech is panicking. Schools are rediscovering sanity, and all of this ties together. This is the Wake Up America show. We're not just waking up. We're opening our eyes to an entire generation paying rents for their own existence. If you are a supporter, click the like button. You can do that for free. You can always send us a text at the Wake Up America show by sending us a text at 573-319-1586. That's 573-319-1586. If you send us a text at 573-319-1586, then we will follow up with any of your questions that you might have, customer support issues about your orders, or anything that you need at any time. That phone number that you see at the bottom of the screen. Hopefully we'll raise that bonus content today. If we raise $100, you'll see our little mini documentary special for Amy J. Easley. And of course, we also have the Great Grift Off game show that if we raise $150 on the show today, then we will play a game show where you'll win actual prizes.
Totally unchecked. But he also allowed drugs to come in at record numbers, and hundreds of thousands of people a year died. And we're taking those son of a bitches out, totally unchecked. But he also...
Nobody could be like him. Nobody could be like him. Welcome to the Wake Up America show. We've got Judge Andrew Napolitano on the show today at 8 a.m. Central Time. At 8:30 a.m. Central Time, we're going to hear from the next governor of New York. That's Larry Sharpe, the Libertarian candidate for governor of New York, will be joining us this morning to talk about his plan for reviving the Empire State. If anybody needs liberty, it's New Yorkers, as our friend Quest Fanning in the chat can attest. We'll be talking to him this morning. He'll weigh in on Zoran Mamdani and what's happening in New York. Siggy's mom this morning sent us a picture she sent it yesterday, but a picture of her awesome Founding Fathers pop art blanket. I hope that we can find a way to show it to you guys. Siggy's mom says she's been paying over $300 a year for her property tax for her 2019 CRV since she moved to North Carolina in 2022. She's heading to 4 Liberty Shop now. Yes! We're going to unlock that bonus content, baby. All right, guys, let's shift gears because in A1, we talked about a generation renting its life because the economy is collapsing under its own weight. Now let's talk about what happens to the next generation when the adults finally say enough, because something is happening in America that I actually did not expect to see this quickly, this loudly, or this powerfully. This is a constant conversation that my wife and I have, which is the question of what sort of media should our daughter consume? What should we play for her? And what should we allow in our house and not allow in our house? More options than ever at our fingertips. It's not like back when I was a child and there were 7 or 8 channels that you could choose from on the local television that you had to get from the antenna that you had to put on top of your house in order to get those 5 to 7 to 8 channels, maybe 9 on a good day. The options are limitless and they are dangerous. There's a national revolt happening across living rooms, across America, school hallways, playgrounds across the country. And the target's not the government. The target is the smartphone. This is called the Screen-Free Childhood Revolution. Fox Business covered this. It's kind of extraordinary. A 1-year-old nonprofit called the Balance Project has exploded into more than 100 communities in its first year. That's fast. Not Silicon Valley funding, not pushed by professional activists. This is just parents getting together doing what parents do. They're ordinary parents, exhausted parents, fed up parents who look at their kids, they looked at their phones, they looked at the anxiety that their children are feeling, the depression, the isolation, the robotic zombie stare, and said, we're not going to do this anymore. So these parents are not banning technology. They're doing something actually more subversive in a lot of ways. They're just replacing it. Right? They're not going to their city councils and demanding that there are laws to prevent them from letting their kids use it. I need a law to stop me from having my child watch Miss Rachel or whatever. They're actually doing it, right? This is called the Balance Project, and they're creating mud kitchens, book clubs, frog hunts, actual frog hunts. This is what they're doing. Kids exploring creeks, kids building stick forts, kids learning breath work and posture in phone-free sports sessions, kids playing without adult choreography, coming in, telling all the kids what they need to do. And it's beautiful. It's the kind of childhood that boomers romanticize. Millennials, we kind of half remember, and Gen Z has literally never experienced. So here's the key. The movement is not rooted in ideology, which I think is good, probably good for its health long term. It's not left-wing or right-wing, which means that it will eventually become left-wing. Sorry, but that's the rules. It's not religious. It's not anti-tech. It's rooted in the simple human realization that childhood is not meant to be digital first. So the founder of the group said this: childhood should revolve around independence and real-world experience, not a 5-inch screen. That sentence has more wisdom than anything that has been posted on Meta in 10 years. This is why this is happening now. 3 reasons. First, Jonathan Haidt detonated the national conversation with his book, The Anxious Generation. Parents everywhere suddenly realized they were not alone, that the phone was the problem. The apps were the problem. The notifications were the problem. Childhood had been hijacked by this dopamine cartel. And the second realization is the data. 40% of toddlers now own their own tablet. Half of all kids under 8 have their own device. School districts are reporting that discipline issues explode when phones are allowed and plummet when they're removed. And then third, there's the lived experience of this. The parents watching their kids decline, slumped postures, social withdrawal. Have you seen the Gen Z stare? We have a Gen Z in our family, and they have that stare where it's just kind of like this. It's just this emotionless, like you say something to them, they're listening, and they're like, huh? Have you seen this? Have you seen the Gen Z stare, Steph 793? And of course, and this movement is spreading like wildfire. It's out of desperation. Not anger, which I really appreciate, but big tech is reacting to this movement because Meta rolled out this new PG-13 version of Instagram, which is a special safety mode to protect the kiddies. And the child safety experts, they tore it apart. They said that this is cosmetic, it's soft, it's unenforceable, it's a PR campaign wrapped up in a terms of service update. So, of course, they don't do anything meaningful. If Meta ever rolled out actual kid safety, it would be like McDonald's rolling out broccoli-flavored Happy Meals. It would be moral, it would be admirable, and the stock price would plummet. So, and the data is backing up this group's claims, at least initially, and it's showing what happens in some of these phone-free schools. This is not anecdotal. This is real. This is hard data from actual school districts across the country. When schools ban phones, 3 things happen in the first week. 1, test scores go up. 2, fights go down. 3, attendance improves. If you want to help schools, take the phone away. Done. What do you think? I know Camellia doesn't agree. What about school shooters? They should be able to have a way to call 911 perhaps without having an entire device. Do they need to have a smartphone then perhaps? Could we be more realistic about what they have in terms of communication devices? You know what we'll do is we'll get them we'll get them all life alert bracelets. I know. Now, Steph 793 says that her 20-year-old son just threw an awesome Thanksgiving party at his apartment, and he's defying the trends. Teachers are reporting kids start talking again when there aren't phones. They're laughing, they're interacting, they're playing, they're learning. They're being children. They try new things. They experiment. They take risks. They listen to their teachers more. In other words, they re-engage with the world around them. Can you imagine that? Remove the distraction machine and the children rediscover their humanity. Folks, we used to know this. Every adult listening today knows this. We did not have personal devices in school, and somehow we learned algebra. Somehow we formed friendships. We survived without the ability to receive texts from strangers. You know what? I still have the text messages that I got in class back in the early to mid 90s. You can find all my text messages, handwritten. A lot of Erica Twyman. She was cute. She had a crush. So here's where we tie all this together. In the first part of the show, we saw Gen Z doesn't buy anything because the economy is imbalanced beyond recognition. They borrow everything. They outsource their ownership to corporations. And in the second block today, we're seeing parents who are reclaiming something that they did not know was lost: ownership of childhood. Look at the parallel. Adults cannot afford to own things. Kids cannot afford to own their own minds. Adults are renting their physical world. Kids are outsourcing their psychological world to an algorithm. Adults are fighting a war for affordability. Kids are fighting a war for attention. Parents are starting to realize that if they do not intervene, their children will not just grow up in the rental economy, they will grow up in the rental childhood. Childhood rented out to TikTok and China, identity outsourced to Instagram, and creativity algorithmically manufactured. Attention span leased by the minute to companies that do not care about kids. And the parents are done. They're opting out. They're pulling the plug. They're rediscovering analog. They're rediscovering ownership, not of things, but over their own children. And when you look around this morning, I think you can feel something happening, something cultural, something that's bigger than politics, and something that healthier than anything Washington has done in years. Parents taking their kids back. And I think it's something to celebrate, something to be proud of as Americans. So the next part of the show, where we're going to zoom out even further to the international scene, because while American parents are fighting for childhood at home, world governments are playing with fire abroad. The next story is not about frog hunts or mud kitchens. It's about airstrikes, geopolitical knife fights, and a South American dictatorship that may be destabilizing faster than anybody expected. So after the break that's coming up in just a minute, Judge Andrew Napolitano joins us to break down the Hegseth-Venezuela strike controversy and the question on everyone's mind, which is what actually happened, who authorized what, and what does it mean when the United States finds itself in the orbit of a potential regime collapse in our own hemisphere. So stick with me. This is the Wake Up America show. We just finished reclaiming childhood. Now we dig into the fight for the Western Hemisphere. So reasons to live and reasons to KYS.
Yeah, for what it's worth, I'm the largest individual taxpayer in history. So I paid $10 billion in tax, over $10 billion in tax. You're welcome. Like, I sort of thought maybe the IRS would, like, send me like a little trophy or something. Yeah, like one of those, like, doesn't have to be expensive. It could be like, one of those like things you get for when kids win a karate competition. Like little plastic gold trophy or something like that, or a cookie or something. But I didn't get anything. It's like, and but I was happy to pay the taxes. I don't mind, Yeah, it's a good week this week. Yeah, stock market's wild.
Stuck in between Generation Z and Generation Z and Generation X, the millennials. What would happen if they met the Nazis?
Welcome to Germany, gentlemen.
He looks funny, isn't it? Like on a film or something.
He's German, like that guy we're fighting, Hitler or whatever. He's German as well or something.
Your first time in this country?
I went to Boulogne on a school trip in the 5th year. Got all flick knives and shit and porn mags and whatever. Mrs. Daniels searched my bag and I was excluded for 10 days.
No, wait, 10 days? That's actually like abuse.
You know what I mean? Mrs. Daniels was right munter.
Boulogne is in France, not Germany.
Whatever. I was away when we did geography. My nan died.
Cigarette, gentlemen?
No, duh.
They're like disgusting and really bad for you.
Can you actually put that out? Because I'm like breathing in your smoke and stuff, and that's against my human rights.
It's like a sort of murder.
When you were shot down, you were on a reconnaissance mission over the suburbs of Munich. What were you looking for?
Places to bomb and stuff, like factories or some shit like that.
I shouldn't actually have been in the plane. I only came along because I'm going out with his sister. She's well up for it.
That's my sister, man.
I know, but she's well up for it, though.
No, she is well up for it. She's slack.
A bombing mission is planned for the Munich suburbs. Tell me more.
No way, you're not my dad.
I can and will use force if necessary to extract information from you.
You actually can't, because that's against the Geneva Convention and shit. You can get, like, taken to court and fined or something.
I want legal aid and telephone call, that takes my rights.
Do not talk to me about your rights. You have no rights in this room.
Actually, they do. It's like the law and shit. We did it as a modular Berlin unit, and I didn't believe the lecture at first. And this is me to the geezer. Are you sure, mate? And he's all like, yeah. You know what I'm saying?
Silence!
Well, he needs to take a chill pill.
You know what I mean?
Isn't it? Isn't it?
Isn't it?
Isn't it? Isn't it?
Isn't it?
Stand up.
It was too funny to not play. It was too funny to not play. Oh my God. $97 raised towards today's bonus content. Mylene, did you go shopping? She did. She went to the gift shop this morning. She got some delicious Madisonian morning. You guys, I'm so proud of the coffee that Stephanie and I serve to people.
No, wait, 10 days? That's actually like abuse.
You know what I mean?
Wait.
Mrs.
Where
Daniels
is
was
that?
right munter.
Chunk. There we go. I'm so proud of Founding Flavors Coffee. 2026 is going to be the year for the For Liberty Network, and it's going to be built on AI and coffee. So get some today. How much have we raised so far? 97. So here's the thing. We've got a mini documentary. It's ready to play for you. All we've got to do is raise $3 measly little dollars. So somebody drop a Rumble rant. And instead of watching commercials when we bring Judge Napolitano out next, we will play the bonus content, which Amy J. Ease is going to love because it's about her industry. I have given you an incredible deal on a bundle of my top 3 favorite Founding Flavors coffees. My top 3 favorites, which Brad just posted and I just posted. We were thinking at the same time. Great minds. Well done, Brad. That bundle there will save you big on those 3, which are my favorites. So click on the bundle in the chat and you will get that bundle deal. My top 3. It's a great present, especially if somebody loves AP in your house. AP for Liberty. And if we raise that next $3 during the commercial break, I will immediately cut to the mini documentary. If there's enough time to play it, it's time for me to go get Judge Ainer Napolitano. Talk about Pete Hegseth, Donald Trump, laws of war, the war on drugs, toppling Nicolas Maduro in Venezuela. That's coming up next. Then Larry Sharpe running for governor of New York as a libertarian. He will be here at 8:30 a.m. live. That's 30 minutes from now. You can't miss a single minute of the Wake Up America show on the For Liberty Network.
Picture this. It's 1776. Thomas Jefferson is hunched over his desk at Monticello, ink-stained fingers, writing the most radical document in human history. Do you really think he was sipping Starbucks? No. He was drinking something bold, something black, something brewed strong dinner. The fight over dietary guidelines is just part of a broader trend. Government at every level wants a say in what Americans eat. In recent weeks, U.S. Health and Human Services Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. has promised that the forthcoming revised U.S. dietary guidelines. The Trump administration says, nursing isn't a professional degree. Here's why. That's a good thing. The decision isn't a value judgment. It's a recognition that nursing school is usually cheaper than medical school. The Trump administration has decided that, for student loan programs at least, nursing programs are not professional degrees. While the decision simply means nursing students will be subject to a lower federal student loan borrowing cap, nursing organizations have reacted with horror, viewing it as an all-out assault on the nursing profession. At a time when healthcare in our country faces a historic nurse shortage and rising demands, limiting nurses' access to funding for graduate education threatens the very foundation of patient care. Jennifer Mensick Kennedy, president of the American Nurses Association, said in a statement last month, "We urge the Department of Education to recognize nursing as the essential profession it is and ensure access to loan programs that make advanced nursing education possible." However, the truth is much less outrageous. As part of the One Big Beautiful Bill Act, Congress eliminated the Grad Plus student loan program, which had previously allowed graduate students to borrow up to the cost of attending the program of their choice, in essence, allowing students to use the government as an endless funding supply. Over the nearly 20 years it was in place, the Grad Plus program helped create a massive increase in graduate borrowing. When Congress eliminated the Grad Plus program, it replaced it with a new program that allows those in most graduate school programs to take out up to $100,000 in federal loans, with those in professional degree programs permitted to take on up to $200,000. Because the law was relatively vague about what constituted a professional degree for student loan purposes, a rulemaking committee settled on 11 programs, including medical, veterinary, dental, law, and clinical psychology degrees for the higher loan cap. Classifying advanced nursing degrees as standard rather than professional is not a judgment on the profession's inherent worth, Preston Cooper, a senior fellow at the American Enterprise Institute, wrote last month. There are many PhD programs, too, that are excluded from the professional loan limit, yet no one would argue that a professor with a PhD in economics is not a professional. Cooper also pointed out that only advanced nursing degrees, like a Doctor of Nursing Practice, DNP, could ever reasonably qualify as professional degrees under a sensible reading of the law. Excluding nursing degrees from a professional student loan designation isn't a sign of the Trump administration's war on nurses. It's simply recognizing the fact that the vast majority of advanced nursing programs do not charge the exorbitant fees that are common in medical schools, law schools, and dentistry training programs. And further, exclusion is probably a good thing for prospective nursing students, since the few schools that currently charge beyond the federal limit will be pushed to lower their prices. Statements like Kennedy's assume that graduate school tuition is essentially a fixed fact. Attempts to curb students' ability to take on six-figure federal student loan debts are read as pushing poor students out of school, rather than pushing schools to lower their prices. While derided as making graduate school less accessible, there's already some early evidence that federal student loan caps are pushing schools to lower prices. In September, Santa Clara School of Law announced that it was effectively cutting tuition by $16,000, explicitly to offset the impact of recent repeal of the Graduate Plus federal loan program. Caps on student borrowing mean that schools can no longer use the federal government as a bottomless piggy bank, with students suffering the consequences. Imagine bringing George Washington back to life. Just to explain that in 2025, men can get pregnant, waving an American flag might offend someone, and our government is $34 trillion in debt. But that's not all, George. We have drag queen story hour for toddlers, pronouns are mandatory, and Harvard can't define woman. Oh. And we send billions to Ukraine but can't fix potholes in Ohio. You know, just normal modern empire stuff. I'm sure he'd be totally cool with it. Right after he finishes reloading. He didn't cross the Delaware for this nonsense, but you can carry on the fight with gear that would have made King George cry. Shop bold, shop free, shop for libertyshop.com. Legend has it, back in 1773, a band of angry, overtaxed patriots stormed a British ship, found the king's favorite tea, and said, "This would taste better without the tyranny." Then they tossed it overboard. Fast forward to today. That revolutionary spirit lives on in Boston Harbor Black, the boldest brew in the 4 Libert tea lineup. It's dark, it's smooth, it's unapologetically American, just like the folks who drink it. Whether you're sweetening it up on the front porch or drinking it straight like a Minuteman before battle, this isn't tea for royalty. It's tea for rebels.
I not personally see survivors, but I stand, because the thing was on fire. It was exploded in fire and smoke. You can't see anything. You got digital. This is called the fog of war. This is what you in the press don't understand. You sit in your air-conditioned offices or up on Capitol Hill and you nitpick and you plant fake stories in the Washington Post about kill everybody, phrases on anonymous sources not based in anything, not based in any truth at all. And then you want to throw out really irresponsible terms about about American heroes, about the judgment that they made. I wrote a whole book on this topic because what politics.
The situation in Venezuela has escalated sharply. The American political world is trying to catch up to what actually happened. Over the weekend, reports emerged that U.S. officials were aware of and possibly coordinated with Venezuelan military defectors who carried out a precision strike on a key Maduro regime facility. The strike was immediately followed by frantic statements from Caracas claiming foreign involvement. Then came the political firestorm here at home. So Pete Hegseth comments about suggesting U.S. backing for an operation have triggered denials, clarification, and political panic. Are we about to go to war with Venezuela? What happened to America first? Joining us live to discuss is one of the brightest luminaries in the liberty world and a champion for limited constitutional government. In fact, I think sometimes he and I would both agree the best government is no government at all. Judge Andrew Napolitano joins us live. Merry Christmas to you, sir.
Oh, and early Merry Christmas to you, my dear friend. And again, thank you for the generous introduction. So, Hegseth, I guess the audience for his rant about the press was the person seated next to him, the president, who of course loves when people attack the press to divert attention from questions that they can't answer. Like, did you personally authorize the murder of 2 people clinging to the debris of a boat on the high seas in utter defiance of the Uniform Code of Military Justice, which says that survivors of shipwrecks must be rescued even if you've caused the shipwreck? You must rescue the people you attempted to and failed to kill. The bigger picture, of course, is why all these killings? Why have 81 people been killed? There's no evidence that they were engaged in hostilities against the United States. That would be the only conceivable legal and moral justification for all these killings. The president seems to think that he can substitute his own judgment for either a congressional declaration of war, pardon me, or a judicial process called due process, in which people are arrested, charged, prosecuted, and fairly tried. So these are very, very dangerous times in which we live. The recent controversy over killing these 2 people that survived the initial attempt will probably result in Hegseth leaving his job and his successor convening a court-martial for the admiral and the people who actually pulled the triggers.
So the laws of war, as I understand, the initial strike could be authorized under what they call the authorization for the use of military force. I'm just trying to understand their argument, which is that under the authorization for the use of military force, the AUMF, as we call them, and libertarians in Congress have been trying to get this repealed for years, but their argument is that the legal authority exists for them to strike these cartel boats because they bring a poison, which, being a toxic chemical, they claim is part of chemical warfare being used against the United States, and that is their legal argument for the justification for the striking of these boats.
They don't reveal their legal argument. The AUMFs that are still around only pertain to the Middle East. There's no AUMF that pertains to the authorization for the use of military force that pertains to Latin America. So their argument is not grounded in the can't be grounded in the Constitution or anything that Congress did. But just like when Barack Obama got a legal opinion to murder Anwar al-Awlaki and his teenage son, both Americans, and just like when George W. Bush got a legal opinion to torture people, these legal opinions are kept secret from the public because they're worried that people like you and I will demolish them. So we don't know what the legal justification for it is. There can be no legal justification whatsoever for these killings because these people were not engaged in combat against the United States. If everything the government says is true, and it would be miraculous for it to be true because these speedboats only have a distance of 50 to 60 miles, and they were 1,500 miles from the United States. But if everything the government says is true, under the law, they'd have to wait until the boat was in American waters, which is 12 miles off the coast. Stop the boat. If the stop was resisted with violence, then violence can be used against them. Stop the boat, inspect the boat. If there is controlled dangerous substances, seize the boat, seize the evidence, arrest the people, and prosecute them. Under no circumstances could you kill them. If the Chicago police saw somebody distributing fentanyl in the Loop in downtown Chicago, could they kill the guy? Of course not. They could only arrest him. You can't just kill people because you think they are committing a crime. This is a species of authoritarianism worse than anything Jefferson complained about in the Declaration of Independence.
Judge, even if their legal claim were, as I had described it, which we don't know, as you said, it still wouldn't allow for the second act of consequence, which would be the machine gunning of any survivors hanging onto the boat. First of all, what sort of knowledge do we have that exists? At the moment right now, it's a claim, but we haven't seen the type of evidence like, was it Bradley Manning who released Collateral Murder, which showed actual helicopters firing on reporters at the time, Collateral Murder, which you and I reported on extensively at our time together at Fox Business. Do we have any sort of evidence that is concrete, or is it just assertions, anonymous sources from the Washington Post?
Well, the Washington Post has 7 sources, 7, that say Hegseth gave a verbal order to the admiral, which he recounted to others apparently, to kill the survivors. Hegseth denies it. The White House later, through Carolyn Leavitt, admitted it, and then Hegseth gave a rather fuzzy, I don't want to talk about it because the press prints fake news response, which you ran earlier. But it is very, very, even if everything they say is true, even if this is an act of war, the attempted delivery of chemical poisons to the United States, even though the delivery was physically impossible because the boat can't go 1,500 miles. But even if we overlook that, there is zero justification for killing survivors. The White House calls their killings self-defense. Self-defense? 2 guys are hanging onto a piece of burning wood in the middle of the Caribbean that formerly was their boat, and they are a danger to the United States. They are killed in self-defense. Joe Stalin would blush at such an argument.
We can stop people who commit acts of piracy, but we can't stop people who are bringing drugs into the country. I mean, this is all sort of a twisted side effect of the tremendous failure that is the war on drugs. This national security problem would not exist in its current form if it were not for the fact that Americans, one, lust for drugs, our appetite for drugs is insatiable, and that we cannot treat each other like adults. The people in our communities who are using these drugs are not allowed to be treated like adults, so
right.
we incarcerate them, and we treat a medical problem like a criminal justice and national security problem.
Every time I talk about this, I use the word, and they're willing American buyers. Because if you believe that the individual is sovereign, then you believe we own our own bodies. And if we own our own bodies, we can do to them what we want. We can't do it in such a manner as to harm somebody else, like our children, or those we might injure while operating dangerous equipment, like an automobile. But we can do what we want to our own bodies. But, you know, since the 1930s, this Victorian attitude has pervaded. I mean, look at marijuana. Marijuana is now lawful in 37 states, including the state where I sat as a judge. I can remember being compelled under the law to send people to prison for long prison terms for possessing huge amounts of what is now perfectly lawful. So I guess I know how the judges felt when prohibition ended. All of this stems from the attitude that I'm from the government, I'm here to help you, I'm from the government, I know what's better for you than what you know for yourself. I'm from the government, I'll tell you what you can do with your own body. That has morphed into, I'm from the government, if I think you're going to do something harmful, I will kill you before you do it. That's the Trump argument. The other culprit here, I mentioned this at the end of my column, is Congress. Congress does nothing. Congress is terrified of the president. Congress willingly looks the other way while he is about to invade Venezuela. Was there a declaration of war that I missed?
Judge, when it comes to the attacks on the supply side of the war on drugs, Donald Trump has always been a drug warrior. He's always been in favor of attacking the supply of drugs, and the rise of fentanyl across our communities has created a moral panic amongst mostly Republicans, but of course the establishment Democrats, they all agree at the top of the line on on continuing to prosecute and persecute a war on drugs. So I guess my question for you is on the demand side, not the supply side. How do we sort of approach our fellow citizens as people who believe in ending the war on drugs? How do we approach our fellow Americans with our argument that that drugs themselves should be legal for adults to consume, up to and including fentanyl, because we own our bodies? We understand that. But all they see is people standing like zombies in these communities. You know, they see feces on their streets. They're actually looking at illegalizing some of these drugs in Oregon and places where, criminal justice reform has been enacted, rolling back some of these laws. How do we stop that, Judge? How do we sort of position ourselves?
It's not going to happen overnight, because you're talking about 80 years of government propaganda that the government knows best. It's an unfortunate extreme case that you paint, but an accurate one as far as I understand from what happened in Oregon. Of course, in New Jersey and New York and California and places that led the decriminalization of marijuana, none of the horrors that the Victorian attitudes of the Christian nationalists like Mike Johnson Speaker Mike Johnson had predicted came to pass. It's just the consequence of people's free will, and it's a matter of which is worse: what we have now, the absolute failed war on drugs, which has cost trillions, or people who want to destroy their own lives because they can't control their own appetites. What will they ban next?
Coffee, right? The kind that we sell in our shop, Judge, your gravel grind.
Right. So it's very unsettling, and Trump's personal behavior is almost demonic. You know, he's killing people, murdering them, because he fears what they might do. Yesterday, he pardoned the former president of Honduras, who was convicted by a jury of facilitating the movement of 400 tons of cocaine into the United States over a 20-year period. Well, how do you reconcile that, unless there was some ulterior political or financial motivation to getting this guy out of federal prison? He was serving a 45-year term. Judge, it was the Biden Justice Department that prosecuted him, therefore it was illicit. Well, listen, I'm not in favor of these prosecutions, but the prosecutors were not political appointees or political hacks. They were career prosecutors who had overwhelming evidence of what this guy did. Now, maybe he shouldn't have been prosecuted because maybe the drugs should be legalized. Well, then maybe we shouldn't be murdering people on the high seas, and maybe Congress should do something about both problems. It won't. It never does.
Senator Rand Paul was posted by Donald Trump yesterday. I don't know if you saw that this morning, but it was trending that Rand Paul was sort of offering a bit of an olive branch to the president, trying to fix our broken healthcare system. Judge, when I left my job and took on healthcare, the only option that was available for a young family like ours was to go into the marketplace to purchase health insurance, because our healthcare system is so broken that there are really no other options. Our health insurance gets subsidized by something like 60% of the costs of that health insurance. And over the next few weeks, they're looking at taking away that subsidy, which I don't agree with. But probably lots of families out there like ours are dependent on this. The government, of course, gets you hooked on something. And then I'm sure there are a lot of parents out there who are going to be fighting for that subsidy. I'm fighting to get rid of it. But since the government is doing it, I'm certainly going to use that healthcare subsidy for our daughter. If they take that away, there's got to be thousands and thousands of Americans whose health insurance schemes are going to collapse. Is that probably the best that we can hope for, though, Judge, that people like myself will finally just be like fed up with it and might just go without insurance, essentially? Probably maybe just insure our daughter, and me and Stephanie will just go without and hope that nothing happens, no broken bones, or pay cash out of pocket. And while the system works to repair itself.
Under Obamacare, it's illegal not to have health insurance. The economic theory is they need everybody contributing to the common pool. I mean, Obamacare was a disaster, both economically and politically. It will, however, result in sweeping Democratic majorities in both houses of Congress if middle-class Americans who have become accustomed to these subsidies suddenly don't have them because the Republicans in the House hate Obamacare. I mean, it's just a problem of government growing bigger, and people getting acclimated to what it has. I'm going to have to go because I got to be back on the air in about 2 minutes to talk about Pete Hegseth again.
Of course, Judge. Thank you so much for your time today. Oh, who do you have coming up on your excellent show, Judging Freedom?
I have Aaron Mate and Phil Giraldi. I have a fascinating journalist who joins me from time to time named Kevork Almasian. He's our guy in Syria, presenting, of course, a decidedly different view than what you see in the press. Tomorrow, my heavy hitters, Colonel Douglas McGregor and Professor John Mearsheimer.
Judge Andrew Napolitano, host of Judging Freedom, the leading light for constitutional liberty in the United States. We are so grateful for your time every Wednesday here, Judge. You have a wonderful day.
Thank you, Austin. Right back at you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Watch him on Newsmax, too, and follow him over on X at Judge Knapp. We are so grateful for all of our followers and listeners this morning. We are less than 10 minutes away from Larry Sharpe joining us live. But before that, now for something different.
Is there one outlet out there that you would consider the least bias, sort of the most straight news?
Here's the thing. I actually think that the mainstream news still does a very good job of just presenting facts. I think cable, regardless of the cable station, has fallen prey to the same economic imperatives that we're seeing in every other type of news, which is you are deliberately controversial, deliberately aggressive, deliberately trying to make people feel angry and aggrieved because that attracts attention.
Is there one outlet out there that you would consider the least biased?
The mainstream news still does a good job of presenting facts. Please. Welcome to the show. I'm Austin Peterson, and you're watching Wake Up America show. It's live Mondays through Fridays, 7 to 9 a.m. Central Time. Mondays through Fridays, 7 to 9 a.m. Central. We put this show put together. People like Andy Opperman and Peter the Great talking about what a white pill I am. I tell you, we are white pilled over here. The Wake Up America show has a shop. We call it the Grift Shop. As a matter of fact, if you go to thegriftshop.com, you will arrive at my fun house of freedom, family, and coffee. Founding Flavors Coffee is available only at forlibertyshop.com. Andy Opperman tried our coffee, and then when he would travel, he would go to little hotels, and you know how sometimes you get the hotel coffee, and it's just kind of like... Yeah, it's a little nasty. If you really love coffee, and God bless it, I love coffee. Let me tell you what I've been making lately, and this is going to blow you away. The Martha's Mint coffee is only available. It's only available. Oh my God, I wish you could smell it. You've got to get this coffee. It's, it smells so good. The Martha's Mint is only available at Christmas time. Founding Flavors Coffee, Martha's Mint. What I do is I make in the afternoon, I start to get a little tired, but I have to like power through. So what I do is I get the Martha's Mint coffee and I'll brew a cup of Martha's Mint and then I'll get the double espresso shot and I'll make a double espresso shot and put it in with the Martha's Mint. And then you just take a little bit of chocolate sauce and just a tiny tab so you don't get fat. You put in the chocolate sauce in the coffee with the mint and the double shot of espresso, and it's just like, oh my God. It's like, it's better than sex. I'm not kidding. It is better than sex. And sex is pretty good. ForLibertyShop.com, the Martha's Mint coffee. Put it in your cart. Stock up on it. If you've never had it, it won't be here for long. I can guarantee Christmas delivery for this stuff. You can be drinking it on Christmas morning. I wish if we could have smell-o-vision. They never invented smell-o-vision, did they? That at least a smell-o-vision that worked. At For Liberty Shop, oh my God, forlibertyshop.com. Taste it. It's not. I know there are a lot of people who don't like flavored coffees, but this is not one of those flavored coffees where you taste it and it's like there's that artificial flavor you can get off of it. This tastes like a natural, delicious mint with coffee, which I'm not a huge flavor fan for coffee either. Sometimes hazelnut, but for the most part, I like my coffee like I like my men. Camellia, you need to get an espresso machine. Two things that I purchases that I made last year that I don't regret. An espresso machine and a tabletop fryer to make my fish and chips, Stephanie's fish and chips. And now Camellia, she bought me for Christmas one year a Christmas gift of a really nice coffee grinder, but I already had one. But here's what I do. I use one coffee grinder for my espresso, and I use my premium coffee grinder for my founding flavors. And then I take the espresso. I make coffee at home. Guys, the coffees that I make at home now are friggin' incredible. It tastes so good. If you are a coffee lover, you have to try it at forlibertyshop.com. I think we've almost gotten to phase 2 of the bonus content. I would love to play the Great Grift Off live today, guys. I want to give away prizes, don't you? Siggy's mom, that's how she got our Founding Fathers pop art blanket. That's how Revolt 8 got his Pinochet helicopter tours shirt. You can win so many great prizes at forlibertyshop.com, but we have to get to the $150 level, so let's buy some Founding Flavors and unlock the bonus. We'll be right back. It's the Wake Up America show's For Liberty Network.
The Trump administration says, nursing isn't a professional degree. Here's why. That's a good thing. The decision isn't a value judgment. It's a recognition that nursing school is usually cheaper than medical school. The Trump administration has decided that, for student loan programs at least, nursing programs are not professional degrees. While the decision simply means nursing students will be subject to a lower federal student loan borrowing cap, nursing organizations have reacted with horror, viewing it as an all-out assault on the nursing profession. At a time when healthcare in our country faces a historic nurse shortage and rising demands, limiting nurses' access to funding for graduate education threatens the very foundation of patient care. Jennifer Mensick Kennedy, president of the American Nurses Association, said in a statement last month, "We urge the Department of Education to recognize nursing as the essential profession it is and ensure access to loan programs that make advanced nursing education possible." However, the truth is much less outrageous. As part of the One Big Beautiful Bill Act, Congress eliminated the Grad Plus student loan program, which had previously allowed graduate students to borrow up to the cost of attending the program of their choice, in essence, allowing students to use the government as an endless funding supply. Over the nearly 20 years it was in place, the Grad Plus program helped create a massive increase in graduate borrowing. When Congress eliminated the Grad Plus program, it replaced it with a new program that allows those in most graduate school programs to take out up to $100,000 in federal loans, with those in professional degree programs permitted to take on up to $200,000. Because the law was relatively vague about what constituted a professional degree for student loan purposes, a rulemaking committee settled on 11 programs, including medical, veterinary, dental, law, and clinical psychology degrees, for the higher loan cap. Classifying advanced nursing degrees as standard rather than professional is not a judgment on the profession's inherent worth, Preston Cooper, a senior fellow at the American Enterprise Institute, wrote last month. There are many PhD programs, too, that are excluded from the professional loan limit, yet no one would argue that a professor with a PhD in economics is not a professional. Cooper also pointed out that only advanced nursing degrees, like a Doctor of Nursing Practice, DNP, could ever reasonably qualify as professional degrees under a sensible reading of the law. Excluding nursing degrees from a professional student loan designation isn't a sign of the Trump administration's war on nurses. It's simply recognizing the fact that the vast majority of advanced nursing programs do not charge the exorbitant fees that are common in medical schools, law schools, and dentistry training programs. And further, exclusion is probably a good thing for prospective nursing students, since the few schools that currently charge beyond the federal limit will be pushed to lower their prices. Statements like Kennedy's assume that graduate school tuition is essentially a fixed fact. Attempts to curb students' ability to take on six-figure federal student loan debts are read as pushing poor students out of school, rather than pushing schools to lower their prices. While derided as making graduate school less accessible, there's already some early evidence that federal student loan caps are pushing schools to lower prices. In September, Santa Clara School of Law announced that it was effectively cutting tuition by $16,000, explicitly to offset the impact of recent repeal of the Graduate Plus federal loan program. Caps on student borrowing mean that schools can no longer use the federal government as a bottomless piggy bank, with students suffering the consequences. Legend has it, back in 1773, a band of angry, overtaxed patriots stormed a British ship, found the king's favorite tea, and said, "This would taste better without the tyranny." Then they tossed it overboard. Fast forward to today. That revolutionary...
Welcome to the Wake Up America Show. I'm your host, Austin Peterson. Thank you so much for all that you do for us, financially and otherwise. Clicking the like button is totally free. And of course, watching the show, giving us views, another totally free way to support the Wake Up America Show. But the financial support is just fantastic. Thank you for all your purchases at the Grift Shop this morning. And I'm glad that you enjoy our bonus content, especially because it's always about something important. You're always learning something new, and we're always having great conversations over in the Rumble chat. New York is at a breaking point again, but this time it looks and feels different. The state is bleeding residents, losing businesses, and watching its economic crown jewels walk out the door. Last month's wave of financial institutions and trading firms shifting major functions out of Manhattan and into states like Texas, this is not a symbolic move. When the stock exchanges and major trading desks start expanding in Dallas and Austin, it means that the financial engine that built New York is beginning to turn elsewhere. New Yorkers are watching the empire fall in real time. At the same time, the political climate inside New York is shifting in a way that alarms moderates and energizes activists. Zoran Mamdani's victory in the New York City mayoral race sent shockwaves through the state. I have one of his constituents, Zoran Mamdani, councilman, mayor-elect. One of his constituents is running to be his governor. That's Larry Sharpe, who's joining us live right now on the Wake Up America show from New York. Live from New York, it's Larry Sharpe. Good morning, Larry.
How are you, brother? Always good to see you. Yes, Mamdani is indeed my assemblyman, not councilman, just to be clear. He's my assemblyman, soon to be my mayor. That's true. I actually had him on my show 2 years ago. I actually interviewed him. I knew he was a heavy hitter back then. He is a socialist who has a lot of charisma, which is wonderful. Good for him. And I warned the GOP about it. They didn't care because they never listened to me. But I did actually warn them about it because I knew he was going to be a player. He called himself a sewer socialist and was proud of it. And it was amazing. I was very impressed by his charisma. But people don't realize why he actually won. I'm going to give you the inside scoop why he actually won. Because New York City has what's called matching funds. What does that mean? New York City matches your dollars 8-1 for any dollars that they see can be matched. New York City gave him $12 million of taxpayer dollars. That's why he can compete with Cuomo. Cuomo on his own could raise $20 million without any matching funds. So of course everyone thought he was going to win. They didn't count matching funds. Matching funds gave him, he only raised about $4 million. About $1.5 million of that was considered matchable. So he got $12 million in matching funds. That's what actually got him to win. That's the craziest part. So that's the same more reason why I'm going to win governor, my friend. I'm going to take advantage of the same system, and I'm going to get 6-1 matching funds, and New York State's going to give me $12 million, and I'm going to be the next governor. So I'm going to copy Mamdani. He has taught us the way.
Oh, God, no, Larry, no.
He's taught us the way. See that?
Okay. I'd rather it go to you than Mamdani, but it's always the Mamdanis that win. But let's talk about how you could potentially solve New York's crisis. Everybody's talking about affordability. I lived in New York City. When I was living there, it was barely affordable for people like myself.
You lived where I used to live where I live in Astoria. You used to live in the same area.
We lived right down the street from one another to an extent. Yep. Larry, it was very expensive then. I can't imagine what it must be like trying to go to the grocery store in New York City, and even in Astoria. What could you do as governor of New York to help people who are living in Astoria, going down Steinway Street to the Shotojuku Dojo like I did, and make it so that they can actually afford karate, food and karate classes?
Well, it doesn't matter because Mamdani will give you free buses and free food and free groceries. We're all going to be fine.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
The free grocery There's going to be puppies and rainbows. There's going to be all kind of good stuff. It's going to be amazing. So no, the thing all people also don't realize is New York City is very special. Again, it's a little inside knowledge. New York City is the only city that we have that actually crosses more than one county. Why does that matter? Because if your city is within a county, the governor doesn't control much. In the case of New York City, it crosses 5 counties, which means the governor controls a lot. The reality of it is, when you look at a mayor of New York, he actually isn't that powerful. She isn't that powerful. The mayor of New York actually really only covers cops and schools. That's really what they do. So everything he said is already not going to happen. Kathy Hochul's already said no to most of the things he said. She's disagreed with giving him the money for the buses. So most of that stuff, remember free buses? So he's not going to get most of those things. So he talked a good game. Well done. Good for him. But in reality, most of it's not going to happen. So he gets to blame Kathy Hochul and say she's wrong. And why is that a good thing for him? Because when New Yorkers get upset and realize the establishment doesn't work, they don't vote for Republicans. They hate Republicans. They vote for the further left. That's what we do. Remember what happened in New York City. Cuomo ran, and the Republican, who was Curtis Sliwa, guy I know, my friend, I like Curtis, he's amazing. Guy who started the Guardian Angels. The New York State Republican Party said, don't vote for him, vote for Andrew Cuomo. Andrew Cuomo, the guy who said literally as governor, there is no place in New York State for conservatives. They said, go ahead and vote for that guy. So what wound up happening is the Republican in New York City, got 7% of the vote. 7, not 17, not 70, 7. That's where we are right now. So how do we fix that? I'll tell you one of the best ways we can fix that. First off, why would I even say what I'm going to say? Because right now in New York State, again, the person who's going to be running is a woman named Elise Stefanik. She will be the Republican nominee. Elise Stefanik is a hardcore Trump supporter. That's not a bad thing if you live in, say, Oklahoma. If you live in, say, Nebraska, well done, great. You live in New York, death sentence. There is no way. 23% of New York State voters are Republican. Republicans are the third largest party in New York State. Independents are bigger than they are. A Republican has not won a statewide election in my state in 23 years. And the state's just getting bluer, not redder. It's almost 3-1 Democrat Republican now. In New York City, it's 6-1 Democrat Republican. Let me say it again, courtesy of the Republican, he was the spoiler in my last election. The Republican Party is dead in my state. Stefanik is now doubling down on Trump, tripling down on Trump, talking about things like Israel and such. Why would you speak about those things if you actually want to win? You'd be trying to get independents and trying to get Democrats. She's not. All she's trying to do is raise a bunch of money. That's it. So she can take that money. Half of that money she'll run on some terrible campaign. The other half she'll put into a PAC after she's done and pay herself aside for the next 5 years until somebody makes her ambassador to Chile or something, ambassador to Argentina, whatever she winds up getting. That's what her life is. Why do I say that? Because the reality of it is New York State will go independent before it will go blue, before it will go red. That's what I'm trying to say. Just like Nebraska. In Nebraska and Utah, you probably know this already, the Democrats don't bother running statewide candidates anymore. They can't raise money, they can't win. So independents have to run in their stead, right? For U.S. Senate last cycle, Utah and Nebraska did not run Democratic candidates. For the United States Senate, there was no Democratic candidate because the state is so red. My state's the opposite. It's so blue. My state's probably 3 cycles away from Republicans stop running candidates statewide. 3 cycles, maybe 2. Depends how bad this next one is. They're going to stop running. You just can't raise enough money. You can't do anything. It becomes only a grift.
Well, let's talk
Which
about...
means I haven't...
other than like the tactics and the electoral chances, sorry to cut in there.
Yeah.
Let's talk about how your platform could make people their lives better, right? Let's talk about
one of the first things we want to do, and I brought it up because I wanted it to be realistic. That's why I brought that's why I prepped it. But the first thing I want to talk about is I want to talk about building an actual New York State social trust. It is basically a sovereign fund for New York State. Alaska has one. Singapore has one. Norway has one. Socialism, when you add capitalism, is amazing. Just add capitalism, then it's fine. So you have to add capitalism to actually make any of this stuff work. You have to do that because New York State is so far in debt and so broken, I can't just fix the state. It's unfixable right now. New York State gets a $20 billion bailout from the federal government every year. And we lose about $20 billion in addition to that due to migration. There are 300,000 New Yorkers leaving every single year. Most of those will be voting against Kathy Hochul, so that's why she's going to win again unless an independent wins. You start with a New York State social trust. You do that for several reasons. Number one, once you build that out, you can do it either with nuclear energy. Once you start getting a couple of nuclear power plants set up, we need 3 or 4 in upstate New York, North Country, right along the St. Lawrence River. Best place to put them. Thorium reactors is probably the best answer. 3 or 4 of those, the local people want them up there, so there's no fight with local people. The fight is only with the federal government, which that's what a governor will fight. Otherwise, they'll get built within 3 or 4 years. We lease the land out and so we allow them to build. Do that. The Chinese have already built, I think, 5 or 10 thorium reactors. We build those. We can then take that money and put that into the trust. But not just that. New York State has about $80 billion in taxation every year. We could back it with that. But not just that. New York State has tons of federal lands, which we can either lease out and or sell to fill it up also. Once we get that moving forward, within a year or 2, we can pay for all of our schooling. New York State drops $36,000 per kid per year in schooling. It is not only the most in the nation, it's the most in the world. No one spends more money than us. It's like Luxembourg, but Luxembourg's not really a country, kind of a bank surrounded by a country. Anyway, besides Luxembourg, we are the number one spend, and our results are mediocre. Now, why does that matter so much? Once you pay for education directly through trust, and the trust, of course, is a separate company, copying the Singapore model. Separate company, not part of the government, separate board, separate CEO. They have their own reasons to make money and to survive. So, and they're not, once it started, there's no appointments anymore. It is not appointed. You work like any other company. It becomes a chartered company. So this way the government can't come in and go, oh, we want to do stuff, let's take the money. That does not exist. That would be against the law to do so. After that, once it starts paying for schools, property tax in New York State, depending on where you are, is about 50% of your property tax. School tax, about 50% of it. So once school tax goes away, we don't need it anymore. Property tax is cut in half. With property tax cut in half, now rents will stabilize more. People who have to pack up and leave won't leave as much. All of a sudden, people will be able to physically stay. But that's not enough. You've got to add two separate other ideas on top of it. Number one is you have to support the other people who are growing and then support people who want to grow, both. Those who are growing. You want to actually make it to where our physical income tax, right now across New York State, somewhere around 4 to 6% income tax. Make that a flat 4% with a floor of $40,000. So under $40,000, zero. $40,001, you pay 4% on that $1 and up. That goes down 0.5% for 8 years down to zero. We can take New York State down to a zero income tax state. It'll take 8 years because of how much debt and problems that we have right now. Our budget is twice that of Florida, and we have half the people. I'm sorry, we have with a little bit less than the amount of people we have, and our budget's twice. So we have to start de-bloating. So that's piece one. Second piece, you add on top of that, corporate tax. Across New York State should be about 6%, a little bit higher depending on where you are. Flat 6%, same thing. Also with a ceiling. You're a small business, $100,000 in profit or less, zero. $100,001, you start to pay 6%. That goes down 0.5% for 8 years, down to 2%, which would be the lowest in the entire state and the entire country. Only state higher would be North Carolina at 2.5%.
Larry, you've done your homework, and congratulations, and thank you for that, because a lot of people who run for office, especially on third-party tickets, haven't gotten down to that level of minutia yet. But let's focus on the bigger picture. What are the issues when I used to run for office? Voters would overwhelmingly, after you talk to hundreds and hundreds of people, you start to see trends emerging between what people are bringing up and how they feel about one issue or another. What are the top issues that your voters are what are their eyebrows raised? What gets them talking when you're talking about issues for
Depends on where I am in a state, obviously. My state's very diverse. Parts upstate, you find, I think, 3 or 4 things. You still have people who are upset about the mandates and the lockdowns that happened years ago that crushed my state, devastated them. You find that often. You find rent, big deal with rents, right? Huge deal with rents. And then just overall taxation. Those are the 3 biggest things I find. So the reason why I bring up the New York State Trust is that immediately takes care of school tax, which takes care of property tax. So that's a big piece for homeowners across New York State. Also stabilizes rent. That's why I bring that up. When it comes to lockdowns, I'm proposing an actual amendment to the New York State Constitution, which would say lockdowns are against the law, period. Lockdowns break the First Amendment. And you know this, most people who think of the First Amendment think, well, that's freedom of speech. It's not just freedom of speech, as you know. A lot of people don't. Freedom of speech, association, press, all those things, right? It's freedom of religion, and lockdowns stop all of those things. So link it to the First Amendment and make it a constitutional amendment to New York State. This way the governor can't say emergency and then end it and create another lockdown. So that's the lockdown piece. The property tax piece I mentioned, and the rent. 2 things when you fix rent. We're going to follow the Malay model. And the Malay model is end all of this damn zoning rules that we have. End all of this rent control. End rent control, end zoning. Zoning is a Texas model. Rent control is a Malay model.
Larry, slow down. Talk slower to me when you're going to talk dirty. When you're going to talk
you have to end those things.
When you're going to talk to me, Larry, I need you to say it. I need you to say it slow.
Absolutely. Look, when it comes to Texas, Houston is one of our largest cities. I think it's the 4th largest city in New York in the country, and they do not have the housing problem that we have in New York State. They don't have the homelessness problem. They don't have the rent problem that we have in New York State. And the reason is they have no zoning. They allow local people to figure out what they want locally, and they can build as they see fit. Way better. Second piece, Malay. Malay ended rent control, and within 1 year, rents dropped 30%. And not just the rents dropped 30%, but on top of it, they had an increase in actual units by 190%. That happens in New York City, rents will collapse. It'd be amazing. And we see it happening in Florida in certain parts already. So you do this, we do this, and that will take care of the rents. So talk about property tax, the rent. And schooling, as I mentioned, also, once the money comes directly from the New York State Social Trust, there's no need for federal funds. New York State gets about $8 to $10 billion in federal money every single year. Also, no need for state funds. What does that mean? That means local schools are controlled as locally. Also means we need all these damn administrators. New York State has certain districts where there are more administrators than there are teachers. There's a building someplace filled with administrators, and there's no students, there's nothing. So those administrators are all there because of state and federal mandates. Once they're not getting cash anymore, those mandates go away. They'll still yell and scream. They'll say, well, Governor Sharpe, I won't give you money. And I'll go, I didn't even ask for your money, so have a nice day. And I won't care about your administrators. Those administrators will be fired. Some of those administrators in my state, Austin, they make $400,000 a year. I am not joking.
They do here in Missouri. And now, in $400,000 a year, that's a poor person in Manhattan, Larry.
It's true. Yes, it's true.
In New York, that's one thing. But here in Missouri, where everybody in the chat is begging Larry Sharpe to move and run, you've got a lot of fans in the chat like that Liberty lady who say Larry's not moving from his state. He loves this state and he wants to fix it. I know you do it, and God bless you for that. Larry.
Austin, if we stop them here, we stop them everywhere.
I know. It's kind of like why I think it's important for us to look at what is happening to Europe, because what the East wants to do to the West, they've done to Europe already. What the left wants to do to America, they've done to New York already, and are in New York City, and they're trying to export to the rest of this country.
True.
Now, Larry, I wish I had all the time in the world to give you, because I love platforming you, and my audience clearly are huge fans. But I only have a certain amount of time, and I want to give you the best opportunity to do that thing that you and I know, that lead capture, right? Because you've got a primed audience right here ready. They're waiting, ready to give you their money, like Alec Baldwin from Glengarry Glen Ross. Are you man enough? Are you man enough to take it, Larry? Where can people donate to the Larry Sharpe campaign or get more involved?
They must sign on the line that is dotted, as he said.
Yes.
Yes. I remember very well.
Get them to sign.
Yes. Sign on the line that is dotted, as he said. Yes. But I don't need you to sign on the line that's dotted. What I need you to do is go to LarrySharpe.com, if you would, and do one of three things. Number one, I'd like you to volunteer. LarrySharpe.com/volunteer. I need a whole lot of social media warriors, so please get on there. The more social media I get, the more actual media I will get, the more legacy media I will get. And legacy media viewers, they vote. So I need to get both social media and legacy media. So please come and volunteer. LarrySharpe.com/volunteer. Second, I need you to donate. LarrySharpe.com/donate. I report January 1st. And that report needs to be big so people go, oh my God, Larry's real. I need it to happen. So please go over there and give whatever you can give. Here's what I would like you to do if you don't mind. You guys like coffee. I see it. Well, as you're making, I'm sure you're making a bunch of Austin Peterson's cool coffee. I'm sure you are. Yes, lots of it. I'm sure you are. So you're probably saying, well, I don't have to go out and buy coffee anymore. Awesome. Give that money to me. If you were going to have $5 $5 a month is a cup of coffee a month. $25 a month is a cup of coffee every week, or give me $5 a day, which is $100 a month, which is a cup of coffee every day. Whatever you feel, please do so. Help out with that. Lastly, tell your friends that Larry Sharpe is back again, running and making things happen in New York. He is the Marine on the front line fighting for your freedom.
Larry's back again. Tell a friend, Larry's back. Hey, Larry, thank you so much for taking time to speak to us and our humble audience. We are so grateful to have you and your fan base joining us over here on the Rumble chat. I know somebody has a real following when they show up and they are active. So good for you, Larry. I wish you the best in New York. Is there anything that we missed today, or any words of wisdom you'd like to share with us in parting?
Yep. The last thing I'll bring up here is if I get matching funds, this is actually a winnable race. And Mom Donnie is proof of that. Second piece, the Republican cannot win in my state. It is a fantasy. When you hear them say it, they cannot. It's not because they're Republicans. It's because of my state. It's similar to Democrats in Nebraska. This is just Republicans in New York. It is impossible. So when you hear people say, you never know, Elise Stefanik, they are lying to you. My state will go one of two things, blue or independent. It will stay blue. That's option one. Or we'll go independent me. And I'm running in both I'm running on both the Libertarian line and the People Party line. So I'm running on two lines in New York State. We have fusion voting. I will get two lines. My name will be listed twice. What does that mean? That means if you give and I make matching funds, this is a winnable race. You saw how everyone went nuts when Mamdani won mayorship. Imagine if you get a socialist mayor, then a libertarian governor in New York State. The entire nation changes overnight. This is a big deal. Help me out, LarrySharpe.com.
You know what? You're the only libertarian who ever presents an actual path to victory, and I'm like, that's the way to go. So you're the libertarian I support, Larry. Good for you. Congratulations on your campaign announcement, and good luck. We'll be following your career with great interest.
Thank you, brother. Have a good one.
Thank you.
As we're adding a little something to this month's sales contest, as you all know, first prize is a Cadillac Eldorado. Anybody want to see second prize? Second prize, a set of steak knives. Third prize is you're fired. A, B. Are you man enough to take it?
Yeah. Guys, we did it. We unlocked phase 2 of the bonus content. I think, I'm not sure how much the Bitcoin was. Kim Husky, you finally found it, and now Larry Sharpe is gone. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Kim, if you were here to watch Larry. He did a fantastic job. You should be able to rewind the stream, though, if you want to watch it right now. Otherwise, we're about to play a game. Everybody who is watching the Wake Up America show live right now has a chance to win real prizes from the Grift Shop at forlibertyshop.com. Here's how it works. You're so welcome, that Liberty Lady, anytime. Always love talking to Larry, and I wish you all the best and the absolute most success that you can possibly have there in New York, the belly of the beast. Let's give it up for that Liberty Lady, for Larry Sharpe, guys. He's fantastic. Liberty Loot Live is a game that we all get to play at home on our phones, on our tablets, on our devices. We start the game, we play the game, we have lots of fun, and everybody who plays the game is going to win a prize. It's the Winter Wonderland game, and we're going to play it right now. You're going to get to play it on your phones, or any of your devices, if you go to crowdparty.app. That's crowdparty.app. And I'm going to give you the code. I'm going to pull the code up on your screen right now. This is the Great Grift Off. It's so much fun. Everybody who's playing right now, everybody who's watching right now is eligible to play. The prize for winning the game is pretty good, just saying, yes. But everybody's going to win something. One grand prize winner of the Winter Wonderland game is going to get a grand prize. But everybody who logs on to play the game, the little fun trivia game, is going to win something. There's mini games, there's Minesweeper games. Everybody gets a chance to play. Everybody has a chance to win, but everybody will win at least something. So sign in on your phones. There's a QR code on the screen. You can see. Check out that QR code. Take a picture of that QR code if you can. Otherwise, you can just go to the website, crowdparty.app. That's crowdparty.app. Crowdparty.app. We're going to play the game today and win real prizes. Siggy's mom, she's got it going on. I Like Ike is here. Martin is here. Everybody who wants to play can join. Somebody was there, but they dropped. Siggy's mom, try again. I'll give you a little time. We got to start the game here soon, though. Once you hear the Squid Game sequence, that's our 30-second sequence. You have 30 seconds to get in the game. Once I play that audio, you have to get in the game in 30 seconds or less. We've got 9 players so far. We can handle up to 50 players. Once we hit that mark, it's time for us to start the game. I'm about to hit the 30 seconds right now, and once we do, you'll have 30 seconds to go to crowdparty.app. 30 seconds to log in. Siggy's mom, she's there. We've got 10 players. She dropped again. Siggy's mom, you've got to get a reliable internet connection or don't click away. There's Stand For It. There's Quest. We need Siggy's mom to get in there. Barney is in, 12 players. If we get one more player, that will be the most players that we have had since we started the game. We need Siggy's mom to get in there at crowdparty.app. That's crowdparty.app. We must start the game. You can join late. It is possible to join late and still win because the code will be in the top left-hand corner of the screen. Just FYI. So Go ahead, let's start the game, and let's play. Get ready. Would you rather? You have to side with the majority to win this game. Side with the majority. Would you rather do the polar plunge or go ice fishing for a day? Side with the majority in order to win. This is the game called democracy. We're going to oppress everyone who doesn't choose the polar. You'd rather do the polar plunge? What? Not me. I'd rather go ice fishing. In which city would you visit the Winter Palace? Yakutsk, St. Petersburg, or Berlin? Yakutsk, St. Petersburg, or Berlin? St. Petersburg. Very good. Round 2 is over. Quest is sitting up top on the leaderboard. Picture trivia. Get the right answer based on the image. Guess the winter wonderland. Big Bear, California. Banff, Canada. Or Hallstatt, Austria. Banff, Canada. Quest just sitting up top like it's nothing. Frank and Beans number 2. I like Ike number 3. All right, it's time for the traffic light game. Wait for the green light, then tap as fast as you can. When you see the green light on your phone, tap it, tap it, tap it, tap it, tap it. Or if you're on your computer, click it, click it, click it, click it. Peter the Great says, sounds like this bunch has never seen a proper ice fishing house. Mini hotel on the ice. Yeah, I know, bro. I would have so much fun ice fishing in like one of those luxury ice fishing hotels. Quest, Frank and Beans, and I Like Ike fighting it out for first, second, and third. Charades, give it up for the Oscar nominee. Keep guessing until you pick it right. Camellia is picking a word. Camellia has chosen. Get ready. Camellia is acting. No, she's not. We can't see Camellia because this game is not made for people who are not in the same room. What does that mean? That means that right now Camellia is frantically dancing. She's frantically waving her arms around in space. No one can see Camellia. And so we just have to guess whatever it is. It's unfortunate because if we were all in the same room together, this would make sense. But since we're not, Camellia has no idea what's going on. Nobody does. You just have to guess the word. It's pretty obvious at this point. If you don't get it, you're kind of dumb, honestly. Never rip on the audience. Never rip on the audience. Never rip on the audience. Don't say that out loud. Trivia. Get the right answer. How warm can the inside of an igloo reach? How warm can the inside of an igloo reach? 7 degrees negative. 16 degrees Celsius. Ooh, nice guess, everybody. I know. What do we got? Some cheaters? No way you guys knew that. Quest, Frank and Beans, and Amy fighting it out for first, second, and third. We're on round 7. This is a fun game. Would you rather catch the perfect snowflake or make the perfect snow angel? Now, guys, you have to side with the majority. Side with the perfect snow angel. I'm sorry. I don't care if that's the majority. You're just wrong. The perfect snowflake will always be superior. Drew is picking a word. Oh, God. Here we go. Drew Luck has chosen his word. Get ready. Drew Luck is acting out his word. You know what? If we had the Discord server on right now, then this would actually work because you could play act out. Because this is supposed to be charades. I'm sorry, guys. I didn't know that this game mode was going to pop up like this. I just thought it would be trivia. My bad. You just have to guess a Christmassy or wintry or Hanukkah or Kwanzaa-y word. First thing I think is honey, but act it out, Drew. We can't see you, and it doesn't matter, even though we're playing for real prizes today. Sorry. Womp womp. Hockey. That's a really wintry word. Hopefully we don't get any more of those, guys. Quest is still number 1. Phil Vecchio number 2. Trivia. Get the right answer. What do you call the rare natural phenomenon that occurs when you combine snow and wind perfectly? Is it snow barrels, snow bales, snow rollers, or snow tombs? when you combine snow and wind perfectly, what do you get? Snow barrels, snow bales, snow rollers. Have you guys ever seen those? Those are fun. Quest is still at number 1, but Phil Vecchio is trying to eat his lunch. You just received a gift. Will you accept the gift? It can be a diamond. It can be poop. It can be 100. It can be garlic. Oh, Phil Vecchio coming on strong at number 1. Question number 2. Pick who? Pick the majority's pick to win points. It's the game of democracy. I know how much libertarians love democracy. Who's most likely to win in a snowball fight? Frankenbeans, Matt, or Kim Jong-Drew? Correct. Whoever said Kim Jong-Drew. Drew Luck feeling number 1. Phil Vecchio number 2. We've got one more round. This is the decider. Amy J. Easley's at number 3. She can still win. Who is most likely to lose a mitten in the snow? David Lee, Peen, or Amy E? Side with the majority to win. You must side with the majority to win, and it's Amy J. Easley, but we all knew that, which means who won? Who won the game? Quest fanning number 1. Amy snuck in there at number 2. Frankenbeans number 3. That really came down to the wire there. Quest, congratulations. Send Brad a text message at the phone number at the bottom of the screen. Everybody who played is a winner. And everybody who played is going to get a gift card from the shop. How do you get your gift card? You send us a text, 573-319-1586. Tell us what your name was on the, like if you're Phil Vecchio, Camellia, Peen, Barney, Drew Luck. Everybody's going to get a $5 gift card, but Quest is going to get a $25 gift certificate to the Grift Shop. Thank you guys so much. Hope you enjoyed it. Sorry about the charades. I'll try and fix that for tomorrow. And don't forget, tonight is Wednesday, which means Liberty Tonight here at rumble.com/Liberty Tonight, 7 p.m. Central. Brian Piotr interviews his dad about generations gone by. There'll be scary ghost stories and tales of the glories of Christmases long, long ago. We'll see you guys here tomorrow on the Wake Up America show and the 4 Liberty Network.
The Trump administration says, nursing isn't a professional degree. Here's why. That's a good thing. The decision isn't a value judgment. It's a recognition that nursing school is usually cheaper than medical school. The Trump administration has decided that, for student loan programs at least, nursing programs are not professional degrees. While the decision simply means nursing students will be subject to a lower federal student loan borrowing cap, nursing organizations have reacted with horror, viewing it as an all-out assault on the nursing profession. At a time when healthcare in our country faces a historic nurse shortage and rising demands, limiting nurses' access to funding for graduate education threatens the very foundation of patient care. Jennifer Mensick Kennedy, president of the American Nurses Association, said in a statement last month, "We urge the Department of Education to recognize nursing as the essential profession it is and ensure access to loan programs that make advanced nursing education possible." However, the truth is much less outrageous. As part of the One Big Beautiful Bill Act, Congress eliminated the Grad Plus student loan program, which had previously allowed graduate students to borrow up to the cost of attending the program of their choice, in essence, allowing students to use the government as an endless funding supply. Over the nearly 20 years it was in place, the Grad Plus program helped create a massive increase in graduate borrowing. When Congress eliminated the Grad Plus program, it replaced it with a new program that allows those in most graduate school programs to take out up to $100,000 in federal loans, with those in professional degree programs permitted to take on up to $200,000. Because the law was relatively vague about what constituted a professional degree for student loan purposes, a rulemaking committee settled on 11 programs, including medical, veterinary, dental, law, and clinical psychology degrees for the higher loan cap. Classifying advanced nursing degrees as standard rather than professional is not a judgment on the profession's inherent worth, Preston Cooper, a senior fellow at the American Enterprise Institute, wrote last month. There are many PhD programs, too, that are excluded from the professional loan limit, yet no one would argue that a professor with a PhD in economics is not a professional. Cooper also pointed out that only advanced nursing degrees, like a Doctor of Nursing Practice, DNP, could ever reasonably qualify as professional degrees under a sensible reading of the law. Excluding nursing degrees from a professional student loan designation isn't a sign of the Trump administration's war on nurses. It's simply recognizing the fact that the vast majority of advanced nursing programs do not charge the exorbitant fees that are common in medical schools, law schools, and dentistry training programs. And further, exclusion is probably a good thing for prospective nursing students, since the few schools that currently charge beyond the federal limit will be pushed to lower their prices. Statements like Kennedy's assume that graduate school tuition is essentially a fixed fact. Attempts to curb students' ability to take on six-figure federal student loan debts are read as pushing poor students out of school, rather than pushing schools to lower their prices. While derided as making graduate school less accessible, there's already some early evidence that federal student loan caps are pushing schools to lower prices. In September, Santa Clara School of Law announced that it was effectively cutting tuition by $16,000, explicitly to offset the impact of recent repeal of the Graduate Plus federal loan program. Caps on student borrowing mean that schools can no longer use the federal government as a bottomless piggy bank, with students suffering the consequences.